The Jason Bean story is a special one that I just hope does not come to an end when it comes to the game of football. Bean was not a highly rated recruit and started his career at North Texas before transferring to Kansas while they were rebuilding. While he won the starting job in 2021, injuries would cause him to lose it to Jalon Daniels towards the end of the season. He returned for a sixth year in 2023, knowing he was going to be the backup rather than transferring, but when Daniels went down with an injury, he stepped up and put Kansas on his back. This is the Jason Bean story. This is the story of how an unlikely player became the Kansas Jayhawks hero. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football and spring league football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who your favorite quarterback is in this year's NFL draft in the comment section below. Jason Bean was born on June 9th, 1999 and grew up in Mansfield, Texas, which is south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Bean was not your typical future possible NFL draft pick. He would attend Lake Ridge High School, where he would take over the starting quarterback job his junior year. He saw some playing time his sophomore year, but really only as the backup. During his junior year, he would break out as a possible future recruit, throwing for 2,956 yards and 29 touchdowns, and rushed for 530 yards and 7 touchdowns, leading to an 8-5 record in the third round of the Texas 5-8 state playoffs. During that run, Lake Ridge would beat Samuel 87-58, and the offense put up points throughout the season. Bean was named second team All-District, 10-5A, and was looking to have an even better senior season. As a senior, Bean would lead the Eagles to a 12-2 record, winning the district and made it to the quarterfinals of the Texas 5A state playoffs, losing to eventual champions Highland Park 37-35. Bean would throw for 1,682 yards and 20 touchdowns, while also rushing for nearly 700 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Coming out of high school, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, Jason Bean was a 3-star recruit who was the 72nd best pro-style quarterback and 2,129th best player in the 2018 recruiting class. Received over 5 different Division I offers from the likes of Colorado State, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, North Texas, and SMU, choosing to stay close to home and attend North Texas before his senior season. Jason Bean would redshirt his freshman year at North Texas, appearing in the Mean Greens Bowl game against Utah State, rushing for 14 yards and throwing 1 interception. During the 2019 season, Bean appeared in 7 games, throwing for 176 yards, 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, completing 62.9% of his passes, while also rushing for 80 yards on the ground. Bean would finally get the starting nod during the 2020 season, starting 7 games and appearing in 8, throwing for 1,131 yards, 14 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, while also rushing for 346 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. The Mean Green would go 4-6 and lose the Myrtle Beach Bowl to Appalachian State, 56-28. Bean told the press, "We have benefited from this year. Our record doesn't say exactly how we feel the season has gone. It's been like no other, but I think it's definitely been good for the young guys to get reps." After the season, Bean decided to enter the transfer portal after playing in a 2-quarterback system for most of the year. With 3 years of eligibility left, Bean decided to transfer to Kansas during a time period where they were looking for a new head coach. Bean was going to be competing for the starting quarterback job with sophomore Jalon Daniels and senior Miles Kenrick, and ranked last in the Big 12 in 2020. With the arrival of Lance Leipold as head coach that April, Bean would do enough to win the starting quarterback job. Bean would struggle throughout the year, throwing for 1,252 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, as Kansas would go 2-10. Through a combination of getting banged up and just not meeting expectations, Jalon Daniels, who showed some flashes as a freshman running for his life in 2020, started to take the role from Bean, cementing himself as a starter after leading Kansas to its first big win of the Lance Leipold era on the road over Texas. Jalon Daniels would take over the starting quarterback job heading into 2022, and many expected it to be a rebuilding year for the Jayhawks. Led by Daniels, they would start 5-0, and Bean came in for an injured Daniels against TCU, who would go on to play in the college football playoff. Bean would finish the game throwing for 262 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Jayhawks would lose a heartbreaker and proceeded to go on a 3-game losing streak, just 1 game away from bowl eligibility. Finally, Bean would lead Kansas to an upset win over top 25 ranked Oklahoma State to clinch bowl eligibility. But throughout the season, the fan base had mixed feelings on Bean. For all the highlight plays he would make, he would also make a bunch of mistakes, and he struggled with decision making and accuracy. Kansas would play Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl, losing in triple overtime on a play that saw Bean air the ball over the wide receiver through the back of the end zone. Beane was distraught after the game and thought about hanging up the cleats with 1 year of eligibility left. He would decide to come back for one more season and decide not to enter the transfer portal, even though Daniels had the starting quarterback job on lock. Daniels would miss training camp due to a back injury as well as the season opener. In the season opener, Beane would throw for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, while also rushing for 41 yards on the ground to help Kansas win. Jalen would return for the Illinois, Nevada, and BYU games, would be forced to sit out the Texas game due to the back injury returning. Many fans feared that if Beane was taking a majority of the snaps this past season, Kansas was going to be in trouble, but Beane would prove them wrong. Kansas would start the season 5-2 and clinch bowl eligibility in an upset win at home over number 6 Oklahoma, 38-33. Beane had stolen the hearts of his coaches, the fans, and the national media as the guy who kept fighting and never gave up. He would miss the Texas Tech and Kansas State games, which were one-possession games for the Jayhawks, and many felt had Jason been the starting quarterback, they would have won those games. Jason Beane has gone from erratic backup to fan favorite. He was not done yet, though. He would return for the Cincinnati game and helped Kansas win their first bowl game since 2008 in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, despite being without Jalen Daniels, who was the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Beane finished the season throwing for 2,130 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, while also rushing for nearly 300 yards on the ground, en route to going down as a Kansas legend. Jason Beane finished his career at Kansas with 4,662 yards passing, which is 7th all-time in Kansas football history. He also threw for 38 touchdowns, which is the second most ever by a Jayhawks quarterback. David Az from Rock Chalk Talk summed it up perfectly in his article, Jason Beane, We Never Deserved You. Jason Beane was great. Forget his mistakes. The guy wasn't a perfect quarterback, but he was a hell of a football player. He was unconventional, but he got things done. He was a guy you could put your trust in when Kansas needed points. Jason Beane is now a football legend in Lawrence. Now, Jason Beane turns his attention to the 2024 NFL Draft, where he has graded out as a possible Day 3 pick. The Jason Beane story is a special one, and I cannot wait to see what the next chapter writes. What do you think? When and where will Jason Beane be drafted? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.